go south fast. So it's great to see y'all. Good afternoon. I'm the Community Development Committee Chair for the Metropolitan Council, Robert Lilligren. It's Monday, April 4th, 2022. Before I call this regularly scheduled Community Development Committee meeting to order, just a few things. For a short time still, COVID-19 is continuing to cause us to alter our usual procedures, and the Metropolitan Council Chair has determined that it's not practical or prudent to conduct an in-person committee meeting at this time. So we will participate in this meeting by electronic means or phone. And this Community Development Committee meeting will be recorded. It's conducted over WebEx. Members of the public can monitor by going to the agenda online at the Met Council website and view the live stream. I'll just remind committee members, we'll call roll for each business item. And also, please just use the WebEx written chat function for technical issues. Otherwise, any kind of dialogue or debate, let's verbalize so people who are monitoring can follow along. So if there are no questions at this point, my understanding is this and the next Community Development Committee meeting will be held remotely, then we'll be back in person.
Yes.
Cool. So if there are no questions, I'll call this meeting to order by taking attendance by roll call to make sure we have a quorum. So Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. I received advance notice that Councilmember Lindstrom and Wolf will not be attending today. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lilligren.
Here.
Musset. Bento.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And we can move on with our business. The next agenda item, or the first agenda item, is approval of the agenda, and that's posted at the Met Council website. And we don't need to take a roll call if there's no objections or changes. So any objections or changes, committee members? Great, hearing none. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the regularly scheduled March 21st Community Development Committee meeting. And is there a motion to approve?
Bento moves approval.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Coming seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any discussion, additions, corrections? Hearing none, Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. Chambliss.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren.
Aye.
Musset. Bento.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That item carries. It's adopted. And we'll move on to our next item, which is our consent agenda. Committee members, there's one item on the consent agenda that staff has determined isn't controversial. And so that is the City of Indian Grove Heights Summergate Development Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Is there a motion to approve, please?
Member Chambliss makes a motion to approve.
Thanks, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Johnson seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion. Hearing none, Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair Lilligren. Chambliss.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lilligren.
Aye.
Musset. Bento.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That item is adopted, and we'll move on to our information items for today. And the first is the 2023 Community Development Budget discussion. We're already looking to the year ahead, and to present on this will be Heather Aagesen-Huebner. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Chair, committee members. So Heather Aagesen-Huebner, Finance Director for Community Development and MTS. And we are at that point of the year where we're actively working to close 21 books. operate in the 22 budget and looking ahead to the 23 budget. So this is really just a quick preview. This is not going to be an in-depth conversation. This is really just me making sure that we're doing a check-in on what our conversation is going to look like over the series of about the next year. Next slide, please. So today we're going to really cover a lot of the things that you have heard me cover in other years, and I feel like you're all probably getting to be experts in the community development budget. We're just going to do a really quick recap of our objectives and how we frame the budget for you, for our stakeholders, for ourselves, give you a really high level idea of what the committee schedule is going to look like over the course of this year. As we have in the last couple of years, we have a handful of really targeted budget topics that we plan to bring to you. And this is our check-in of, are these the items you want to see, and to do a request for additional items you'd like to hear about. And then I've got about 6 or 7 slides, and then we'll really focus most of our time on the discussion to make sure that we're giving you the information you need to feel comfortable voting on our budget once we finally get to the adoption period. Next slide, please. So these are the same budget development objectives you have heard me talking about. If you are sitting in other committees, you've heard us talking about these. And on the CD side, we are really focused on supporting Thrive MSP 2040, the Housing Policy Plan, and the Regional Parks Policy Plan. And if you're in the Transportation Committee, you're going to hear us talking about the Transportation Committee plan also. Next slide, please. As we develop the budgets that we bring to you, we're really looking to make sure that they're balanced, that we identify where there are any structural issues, and that we're structural budget issues, and we're mitigating those over time, and that we have reserve balances that meet council policy. One of the great pieces of information I can bring to you is that the previous council, when Terry Smith and the rest of the HRA family of staff and I came to talk about the Metro HRA budget, we were always talking about the structural budget that we were in, and that we did not have enough funding to serve all of the families that we had vouchers for. We've mentioned to you that we have to operate under the council budget timeline, the state budget timeline, and the federal budget timeline. And we've gotten some really great news about the federal 22 budget in HRA. We're not going to know our specific dollar amount for, somewhere between the next 30 to 60 days, but all news is looking really positive, and we should be in the best shape. Terry Smith was talking to us earlier and said this is about the best news she's seen coming out of HUD for our HRA program in her tenure. So more good news. I don't have anything to share with you on that tonight other than just kind of the broad good news picture there. Next slide, please. So every year we have a conversation of, when we bring budget conversations to you, whether that be me or program staff, we want to make sure that we're framing it in a way that hits all the marks that you're looking for us to hit. So in past years, we've really been talking about our regional role. Where there's data analysis and research, we share that, especially if it's disaggregated. We highlight the equity impacts. We frame the budget in the terms of what's going on in the general economy, both nationally and regionally. We look for ways to leverage funding where that's possible. Try and make timely financial impacts in the economy where we are able, and that we're supporting council initiatives. So this is one of the questions that I'm going to come back to at the end of my presentation, to just make sure to see if there's anything else that you want us to focus on when we tell our story this year. Next slide, please. So every year we're looking ahead. We're not only building our budget right now for 23, but we're looking further ahead than that. We're really trying to do some financial forecasting for not only 23, but 24 and beyond. We're really closely tracking what's happening at the legislative session in Minnesota. We continue to track what's happening at the federal level. We are always looking ahead at where we might have division level strategic initiatives that come through the broader council, similar to how we've really funded the LHIA programs for affordable housing over the last couple of years. we connect with you on our division work plans, and we're still watching COVID-19. I am looking forward to seeing all of you in council chambers as we get back to the office, and we are still tracking COVID-19 and making sure that we're just understanding what, if any, impacts that may continue to have on both our budget and our operations. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a really high level schedule, and this should look pretty familiar to you. It's really how the cadence of our schedule works. So right now, in the first quarter, in the first quarter of 2021, and I didn't include this on the slide deck because it just got a little bit too busy. But really what we did in the first quarter is, we worked with you to finalize the division work plan. We as a staff-led group really pulled together what we think a preliminary budget may look like. And now we're going into 2022, or into the second quarter, which is really where we do a lot more stakeholder engagement, and you're a critical component of that. So in the second quarter, you're going to see us have multiple operating budget conversations with you. This is the first of those. The next time you're going to see me, I'm going to be coming back with telling our story about our performance in 21, how we've connected to Thrive 2040, and how we see that shaping up in 2023. And we're also going to come back to you with targeted topics. You'll see that every single quarter has targeted topics. I have a list of what the proposed list is, but we're going to really come to you with those based upon timeliness, taking a look at what different program areas are bringing to you, and try and sync topics together so that it kind of makes sense from a programmatic flow for you all. In the third quarter, we're going to come to you with our capital program conversation. Just as a reminder, that would be the Metro HRA homes that we own and the Parks Capital Program. We're going to continue to have updates, provide you updates on the 23 budget development, and again, more targeted topics. Fourth quarter, that's when we're really going to come back to you for the HRA rent standards and utility allowances. That's not so much a dollar investment conversation, as you know, it's setting some limits to make sure that we can operate our program within the budget parameters that we project from the federal government. We're also going to start working on our 23 work plan, and you've heard me saying this for a couple of years now, but one of the biggest places to impact the community development budget is on our work plan. That's how we figure out what we're going to do, how we're engaging with not only you, but other stakeholders, and more targeted topics. And then in the first quarter of 23, we're going to finalize what that work plan looks like, and we're going to start the 24 development process all over again. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to walk through a couple of our proposed targeted topics now. So as many of you, actually all of you, have probably heard by now that we're working on the 2050 development guide, and CD is leading that process, but you are going to see work on the development guide in every committee that you are in. So we're going to come back and have some real targeted conversations with you about land use planning and policy, parks policy, housing policy, different research and analysis that are going to support this work, how we're going to engage with the public. And really, there's just some really great collaborations happening across the entire council. And we'll be talking to you more about that, and that'll really be led by program staff. And then I will make sure to call out the budget impacts of that when we walk through kind of the pie chart piece of it. Next slide, please. So Metro HRA is going to have a number of topics that we're going to talk to you about. You've seen and heard a lot of these before. So the excuse me, the HRA topics, some of them will be me leading it from just kind of a budget development perspective, but a lot of these are going to be program led. It's going to be touching base with you on our administrative plan, providing you updates on some of the initiatives that we have done, giving you updates on some of the amazing partnerships that we have, including with the city of Edina, and then continuing conversations about the property disposition and purchase. So a lot of those conversations will be happening in sync with our capital budget programming. Next slide, please. We'll also be coming in and talking to you about our grant programs. So in general, most of the grant program dollar amounts are set either through our by our federal partners, by our state funding partners, or by our levy adoption limits. Where you really come in play is setting the scoring criteria of how those dollars go out. So it's great. Like over the last 25 years, the Livable Communities program has helped leverage billions of dollars. And our parks program in the next 6 years is forecasted to pass through about $400 million of funding. So over the years, we have a really big impact, and we'll be having just a kind of a focused grant conversation with you this year. Next slide, please. So those are the couple of topics that we want to make sure that we come back to you with, either with new discussion items or with timely discussion items. But I wanted to do a check-in of what other conversations do you want to have? Are we framing the budget and the budget conversations in a way that's helpful for you? So I'll just pause here and pause if anyone has any questions or feedback they'd be willing to offer.
Yeah, thanks, Heather, for the presentation and for your work on this. And then to Heather's question, or do committee members have any questions as well?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great process here, Heather. I really appreciate this. One of the questions I have, and it's probably rolled into those buckets you've already talked about, but is, having enough staff resources available to do some of the work that we've got listed in our priorities, possibly then attached, of course, to Thrive, but just making sure that you've got, the number of staff people you need and those resources that you need, so that when opportunities come up or complexities arise, we have enough people that are on the team to take care of it, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further input, answers to Heather's question, or questions on Heather's report on the 2023 budget? Heather, I'm not seeing any. Please speak up if I'm not seeing you. We know that this is an ongoing conversation. I think you've really given us cause to start thinking about these questions in the 2023 budget. So I'm sure we'll have much more input in future conversations.
Well, excellent. So just open door. If after this meeting you said, hey, Heather, it'd be really nice if we did this, feel free to give me a call, send me an email, send me a message. We'll get your information built in. And the next time you will see me is probably one of the next couple meetings. We have to land the specific date, and then we'll go through the budget in a little bit more whole cloth. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Heather. We look forward to the next conversations. Great. And committee members, we will move on to our final item, our information item of the evening, and that is the Edina Affordable Housing Partnership, some purchase update, and that is report will be given by Stephanie Paulson. Ms. Paulson, welcome. Ms. Paulson.
Can you hear me okay?
Now we can. Yep.
Okay, good. Councilmember Cummings, you were just saying it's been how many years of this and we still can't seem to get through all the glitches? All right. So thank you for having me again today. Like, my name is Stephanie Paulson. I'm the Assistant Director with Metro HRA. And today I'm here just mostly to provide an update about our Edina Affordable Housing Partnership. Next slide, please, Greg. So here's some just grounding information. Like you remember, in 2020, we came to you, the HRA came to you with a business item asking you to support our partnership with the City of Edina. As a reminder, the details of this partnership included $2 million available to purchase homes within the City of Edina. These homes would be rented to low-income families and added to the family affordable housing home portfolio. These homes were purchased at zero interest in a 25-year forgivable loan via the business item in June 2021. Next slide, please. As we searched for homes, like we've talked about this the last time I was here, the housing market is pretty competitive. But we did want to keep a handful of things in mind. We wanted to ensure that we had a balanced portfolio and to meet the needs of our FOP wait list. So, like you recall, I came to you recently to talk about our portfolio and that we had 12 4-bedroom units and 3 5-bedroom units. So keeping in mind that we wanted to be able to access the waitlist or move through our waitlist for our families that had larger households was really important when we had this opportunity to grow our portfolio. The next few slides are going to go through some more details about the units that we purchased. These, I should note that these images you see will not in fact be pictures of the houses that we purchased. If any of you are interested, I'm certainly able to provide those to you directly, but all right. The next purchase that we made was a 3-bedroom unit with 2 bathrooms. We closed in March 2022, and we also began a lengthy list of renovations on this property. So currently it is a 3-bedroom unit. All 3 bedrooms are on the main floor, and the basement was kind of finished. It needed a lot of updates. It had just not really been touched by the owner. And so we decided after meeting with some contractors that we could put 2 bedrooms and a living space in the basement. And so this will be a 5-bedroom unit when all said and done with a living space. Like I said, we began renovations in March of 2022. And with every good renovation comes some unexpected twists and turns. So we're currently in the heart of that, but well on track to lease the unit sometime probably middle to end of summer, we're hoping. It really depends because of the volume of work that we're doing in gutting the basement, and we have to go kind of through the process of opening permits and closing permits as well. So that'll be a process with like an electrical and things like that. And then next slide, please. The final property that I'm going to share with you today is actually a duplex. So there's 3 bedrooms on both sides with 1 bathroom on both sides. We just closed on this the other day, April 1st, and we are going to begin renovations. Well, this unit, both sides do not require as extensive renovations. It is expensive and will take a while just because the entire unit needs windows, both sides. So we'll need to replace all windows. We've had a contractor come out and look, but windows are back ordered a bit. So we won't be able to lease the unit until we get windows fully replaced in both sides. We are potentially reviewing adding a basement to a bedroom, I'm sorry, to one of the basements. It's really going to depend on what the costs are, but regardless, what we will do is probably prepare the one side for a 4th bedroom. If costs are prohibitive, then we will be ready the next time the unit turns to add a 4th bedroom to the basement. And next slide, please. This was a short presentation, thankfully, because y'all might be sick of me by now, but we are hopefully going to have all these units rented by the end of summer. This is hopefully also the first of many city partnerships that we have. It was incredible. I'd like to thank the city of Edina for their amazing partnership with us. They've been incredibly communicative and kind, and also a shout out to our real estate department at the council. Cindy Boyce and Greg Ewig have been immensely helpful as we've worked through this process in navigating purchase agreements and organizing things. So it is most certainly a collaborative team effort. And I will, with that, take any questions that you might have.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie, for that report. And I have a couple quick questions, and then I'll look to committee members. And actually, you answered my second question, which was just sort of the quality of this partnership, because I know it's a new kind of partnership, and so I really welcome your encouraging comments, and I look forward to see where this leads. And then the other question was just more out of my own personal curiosity, but Stephanie, have you been in these properties that we're purchasing?
I
You
did. I
actually
visited
visit?
all of them.
Very cool. Very cool. I appreciate knowing that.
Yes, thank
Great.
you, Chair Lilligren.
Yeah. Yeah. Questions from committee members? Councilmember Cummings.
Councilmember Chambliss was ahead of me.
Thank you. I didn't see. My apologies. Councilmember Chambliss.
Okay, you were talking. Yeah, this is it's exciting to see this these unit purchases advance. Whenever we have an opportunity to provide housing in a tight housing market, this is great. It's nice to have a team that can get in there and compete with everybody else and make it work for affordable housing, that's awesome. I would like to get additional information afterwards on the sale price and either the renovation cost or the estimated renovation cost. It'll be nice to know, you know, how much we're paying and how much does it cost to renovate. And I know you mentioned the renovations, but if you can list that as well, that'd be nice to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chambliss. I will certainly get you kind of, if you're interested, I can get you preliminary figures. I obviously know the purchase prices for all of the units, and I can get you kind of some preliminary figures. When we were looking at what to invest into the properties, we also had our great friends in the real estate department run us some comps. As I wanted to make sure that what we were investing into the property was certainly in line with what was happening, even though I know the housing market is completely out of control right now. I did want to be mindful of what does a 5-bedroom unit sell for these days, and kind of what does a 4-bedroom unit sell for, what does a 3-bedroom, and so I really appreciate that question. I can certainly get you that preliminary information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I have a few questions. One of them was the one that Councilmember Chambliss just raised. I too would be interested in what you're finding for costs and renovation and so forth, because that also leads into one of my questions, which is, are we running through our $2 million funding, or do you think that we're going to be able to acquire more in this calendar year in this hot market? That's question number one.
Sure. Thank you for your question, Councilmember Cummings. Right now, it's going to depend, I think, which is kind of a terrible answer, but I would anticipate that we would not have enough funding with the $2 million to purchase another unit, just because the homes in Edina are very expensive. And so our remaining balance, we won't spend all $2 million, but the remaining balance will not be enough. We will be very short of being able to purchase homes. Homes, as we looked, were pretty much a minimum of like 425 in the city of Edina, and a lot of that, and one of the units that we purchased was in that ballpark, between like right around $430,000, but it needs some work, and so while it's great to purchase at such an affordable price in the city of Edina, because the real estate market is so hot and everything is so expensive these days. We are having to put kind of a lot of money into renovations, especially for that one. So,
okay. Follow up, another one. Okay. I know, first of all, thank you for your presentation. That's great. I just think this program has amazing possibilities. It's really, really exciting. And I know, because Edina is in my district, that they are as excited as we are about partnering on this. So that's terrific. So I think the thing to keep in mind is, there's a lot of development going on in Edina, and they may very well be willing, I mean, this is me talking, but they very well might be willing to do additional funding with the success of this partnership. If we hit on another one that, we might be able to do, if they could bump up a little bit more of financial participation. So don't lose sight of that. And then I'm wondering, again, I hope that this is a model that we can use with other communities. And I think I brought this up before, but I hope that we are watching or talking to other communities to see if we can partner with them. There are other ones who have similar in lieu programs that we might be able to take advantage of in partnering. Again, this is a pilot in that it hasn't been done before. It's very exciting and has so much potential and really meets the goals of so many of our communities. And I would have to say, if we can do it in Edina, we can do it in other communities too. So that's just a comment, but one of my questions too is, how do you select the contractors that are doing the renovations on these properties then?
Sure. So our property management contract includes kind of going out for bids and all of that kind of third-party solicitations that we need to do when we do. But for example, like when we go out for our annual capital improvements, when we do our our annual kind of assessments and big projects like roofs or concrete, we use what is the council's MCUB list, and they use the MCUB list and solicit to our MCUBs via our property management company. So if there's additional vendors that they'd like to solicit to as well, because they've worked with them in the past, they can, but we go off of our MCUB list. I've recently asked a friend to, council friend, to teach me the ways of how to work and filter out the MCUB list and get all of the vendors so I can kind of have real time, and just sent a list over to our property managers for our 2022 capitals that will be coming up. So thank you for that question. I hope that answers it okay.
It does. I think it would seem to me that this gives us a really unique opportunity to be able to use many of our M Club contractors and so forth, because these aren't huge millions of dollar projects that are harder to qualify for. So I hope that we're able to do as much as possible with many of our MCUB participants. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, again, to partner and expand that program, which is a desire of this council as well. So thanks for your work on this, and I look forward to hearing this as it moves forward. It's very exciting.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thanks, Councilmember Cummings. I agree with you on all points. Further discussion, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Stephanie, for this update. It's great. I want to just echo what Councilmember Cummings said. The city of Edina is a great partner in this, and exactly as Councilmember Cummings stated, they're really happy and excited to be doing this work. And I agree that, you know, if we can put this in a best practices model kit and take it out to other communities, that would be awesome. My question is, could you remind me where the city of Edina's money came from? Like, was that a excess TIF, or were they using federal funds, or do you know what program they were using in this partnership?
You know, I can't recall specifically, because that was kind of at the beginning of my regime. Director Barajas might know the answer to that question.
Director Barajas, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Johnson, the city of Edina had adopted an inclusionary housing policy, and one of their requirements for projects over a certain size or requesting certain types of approvals were required to include some sort of level of affordable housing within those projects. They also included a kind of fee in lieu of as well, and they ended up collecting a lot more in fees, I think, than they had expected through that process. And so this was a good opportunity for us to partner with them and help them spend that money to get those affordable housing goals accomplished that they had.
Mr. Chair, and thank you, Lisa, for that update. Yeah, I had forgotten that, which is kind of astounding when you think about even the ability to be able to do that, considering what happens at the legislatures. So I think that's really great. And then again, we're helping families and getting them off of our waiting list, right? Our housing choice voucher. So is there, and that's right, Stephanie, right?
We actually have a separate waiting list for our family affordable housing program.
Okay. And then because Edina doesn't have its own HRA, I guess where I'm going with this, is there anything, if other communities participate but they do have their own HRA, that would that prevent them from partnering in something like this? Or are they, can we still partner with them even if they have their own HRA and work with our list that we have at the Met Council?
Can I answer that?
Please.
Councilmember Johnson, I don't think that there's any boundary that prohibits our partnership. We would be willing to work collaboratively with another housing authority, with any city. There's not anything that prohibits us. I mean, we can get creative with different ways and to meet the affordable housing goals of the region. It's actually, when I think I'd mentioned this before, we had a meeting with Ramsey County recently, and Ramsey County had mentioned that there were some cities that had affordable housing goals that might work with kind of what we were thinking. And our great partners in LCA had also given us some good leads to reach out to in Hennepin County. So I think this is truly just beginning of this partnership. And I'll toss to my colleague, Jerry Smith.
Ms. Smith, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Johnson. We agree with everything that's been said. I think the only other thing I would add to that is if it's a housing authority that's outside of our jurisdiction, we would need some sort of a joint powers agreement or something to operate in that city. But I agree with Stephanie. We can work creatively with partnerships with other HRAs as we have done with other programs. So that was the only clarifying point I wanted to make. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all great news, and thanks for your hard work. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Further discussion, Councilmember Lee.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. About 3 years ago, right before the pandemic started, I had a good college friend move into my neighborhood here in the Battle Creek neighborhood of St. Paul, just south of where I live. And they had a neighbor who had sold their house just before. And all they did was do a Facebook posting, and within 3 days, there was enough interest that they had a buyer without hiring a real estate agent. See, and that was 3 years ago. And so the housing market is pretty nuts right now. And so anything that we do or can do to help alleviate the burden on people is very much appreciated. So I want to commend the staff and all the hard work of everyone behind you all who has made this possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I agree. Further questions or discussions on the report of the Edina Affordable Housing Partnership?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you. Just to reiterate, again, I with all the development going on in Edina and their fee in lieu program, I think the kitty continues to grow fairly significantly. So I would not hesitate to go back to them and suggest that maybe with the success of this, that perhaps we could find another one or two with a little more assistance from them. So again, I know how excited they are about the program, and I know that they have a fairly generous fund, so balance. So anyway, it's always worth going back and asking again. And I know I said that before, but I am just reiterating. It never hurts to go back. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Vento.
How much have we shared? Thank you, Mr. Chair. How much have we shared, Stephanie, with the other cities about this program? And I know that the in lieu of aspect of it is essential, but many times just talking about this can create creative thinking and ideas and get folks kind of thinking outside their normal box and coming up with other kinds of innovation as it relates to affordable housing. I know that the mayor of Maplewood is really committed to this and has talked several times about what they're trying to do in Maplewood. And I would imagine that every city is going through that, but especially the suburbs, because they want to be able to preserve their parks and natural lands when the pressure is on to develop, and they want to balance that. So I'm curious.
Thank you, Councilmember. We brag about it whenever we can, quite honestly. We are super excited about it. And again, I will echo what Councilmember Cummings and Councilmember Johnson have said with regards to how excited we are. And it's reassuring to hear how excited the city of Edina has been too, because it's been a wonderful partnership. When we actually met with Ramsey County, we were meeting with them about something not really even related to kind of the city of Edina, but as we were kind of bragging and talking about how exciting it was, and not bragging in certainly not a mean way, but just like, this is really exciting and something that we're working on. That's what initiated those conversations to talk about, have you heard about, or this city and this city and this city are really cities that are focused on, and it might work. And then he talked about potential grants to explore and other funding opportunities. And so even just bringing it up in conversation seems to be opening the doors for our housing authority to think about new partnerships and create new partnerships. And so it is extremely exciting to think about what could be on the horizon for us.
Councilmember Vento.
Mr. Chair, thanks. Stephanie, the other thing I'd like us to just be thinking about is ways that we can help smaller cities with smaller staffs staffs figure out how they can perhaps get their foot in the door on a similar concept. And maybe it's a group of small cities working together. I can think of several in my district that are adjacent and might find some value in working with a neighboring city to develop some possibilities in a similar sort of scenario. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Cummings, is your hand still? Okay, Councilmember Cummings.
It's a new one, and I promise I won't talk after this, but I just wanted to suggest too, kind of piggybacking on what Councilmember Vento said, this would be a great presentation to present with the City of Edina at the Regional Council of Mayors. You know, ULI is the primary sponsor of the Regional Council of Mayors, and they get not only mayors, but many other people who sit in the audience and participate and listen and so forth. But to have the two different sides talk about how we work together to have this come to fruition and really prompt that creative thinking that Councilmember Vento is mentioning, I think that would be just great. And I would suggest that Executive Director Karen Dewar might be very open to this. I know that May is set, and I think June is set as well, the agendas, but absolutely worth talking about to that group. And I know Mayor Abrams is very actively involved. She is almost always there, and many mayors. I mean, there are 25 or 30 mayors generally, and we're going to start meeting in person again pretty quickly here too. But it's an exciting opportunity and a great way to spread the word to a lot of communities in short order, because it's a wonderful program. And I promise I'm done talking now.
Great suggestion. Thank you, Councilmember. For the discussion, Councilmember Vento.
Okay, and I'll begin by promising that this will be my last comment.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
I almost said that with Molly, or excuse me, Councilmember Cummings, but she keeps her promises. So I just wanted to suggest too that, you know, this would be something that we should consider sharing outstate as well. Some of these regional cities would probably just grab this idea and take it and do what they can with it in their own communities. I'm thinking of Duluth and St. Cloud and Bemidji and Thief River Falls and Rochester, Wilmer, Worthington, Mankato. I mean, it would be great for them to know about the concept. And I don't know from a financing standpoint how it would play out differently, but just to get the creative juices flowing.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further discussion on the report? Further discussion. Ms. Paulson, thanks to you, the team. I'm glad you mentioned some of the other folks involved in this. And as you can tell, this committee is very excited about this. And it sounds like there's excitement out in the ecosystem as well. So I look forward to ongoing conversations. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yes, very good. Let's see. That was our final item on our agenda. Director Barajas, Michelle, anything else for the committee today?
I don't have anything.
I would just add that Stephanie's been very humble. She has been the lead